You are welcome once again to the Guru's Perspective. You watch the first episode of this Fuel Palaver, or Subsidy Palaver, or call it Subsidy Scam, or call it the fraudulent arrangement that has engaged Nigeria for years. And whichever way it will go in this latest battle, nothing for Nigerians. At least 90%. Everything for the top government officials, the cabal that had organized this thing from the beginning. Some of them are gone, naturally in death, but others are living. As they are going, more are being recruited into the list of the cabal. Is there any cabal about oil? Yes. Is there any cabal manipulating this oil that resulted into the demise of all the refineries, remaining comatose that no refinery could work in Nigeria? Yes. The cabal is behind the destruction of all the refineries, and they will never come. They keep borrowing money, and the money will go in, and nothing will happen, and nobody can question them because the cabal is over and above the 90% of Nigerian citizens. When the money is big, the stakes are high. Let us do that. You watched the first episode. I said in order to get fast on this one, let us take our investigation back to just only 34 years ago. And we'll see. But before I mention that, please, if you have Bible, if you have pen, put it down, because we'll be writing a few things down so that on authority of facts and figure, you will be talking and you will know how endangered that we in Nigeria have become in the hand of a cabal that is less than the 10% of the total population. It was only Goodluck Jonathan in 2012 that someone called it to say, enough is enough. No more tolerating of this subsidy. And he woke up on 2nd January to announce removal of subsidy. As of the time he announced it, the price for a litre at the petrol station into your car was 87 naira. And after the calculation, after blocking removing subsidy, so it jumped, let's just say so, let us agree that, it jumped from 87 naira to 145 naira. That was subsidy removed. And the limit it went. Even we shouted, jumping from 87 to 145 naira was 145 naira. But today, from 189 upward to 488, 450, 500, 502, 510. That is 300% jump. All right. We told you they are preparing palliative for you. Of the $800 million they borrowed a few hours before the vacated office. And it will be shared to 50 million Nigerians, the poorest of the poorest. But can you not be reminded quickly that the poorest of the poorest, they have no car. The poorest of the poorest, they don't even have a car, motorcycle. The poorest of the poorest, not all of them even can afford bicycle. Okay. And the poorest of the poorest are most perpetually in the villages, in the farm. But that is not my point of family. We are taking the journey back to 34 years ago. Please, put it down that in 2012, January 2nd, when Goodluck Jonathan removed subsidy, it was 87 and it jumped to 147 naira. Now, what happened 34 years ago? I will give us a brief history on a man who has now been added to the few Nigerians, either dead or living, who would be referred to at any given time as principalities and power. But I don't need to make sure that you know them. But this one is still living. I'm going to talk about the man called Willie Kolo Yari, the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, now NNPC Nigeria Limited. I want to give you accurate figure. Please listen to this. In 1987, Willie Kolo Yari graduated from University of Maiduguri. He read geology. That was in 1987. In 1991, he joined the NNPC. But something happened. Something happened. Between 1987 to that 1991. In 1989, please mark this date down, put it down. In 1989, the man, Mili Kolo, was given an assignment by the Nigerian ruling class then, under the leadership of General Ibrahim Babangida. I want to believe those who assigned him would have seen some of his potentials into tomorrow. Or I want to believe those who assign him this responsibility, you will know the responsibility, but just give me a second. Those who assign him this responsibility must have been members of the cabal as it were constituted then. Individual members of the cabal, like as I said earlier, they die like every other natural, like every other human being. But the cabal keeps revolving itself with new appointments. In that year, I want to repeat it again. 1989, when this young man had not joined the NNPC, was given a responsibility to float an offshore company on behalf of Nigeria. It is an offshore company that is a subsidiary of NNPC called Duke Oil. If I want to refresh your memory a little, this is not too tangible, but I want us to remind you. 2 years ago, or how many years ago? Not up to 2 years ago. Contaminated fuel was imported into this country that destroyed a lot of farms. Let me speak to you on authority with record that fuel was imported from Europe. Fine, well defined. The certificate you need to see. The certificate was not compromised. Neither was the product compromised when it was shipped out of Europe. It came to Atlas Cove here in Lagos here. It was pampered and was contaminated and was mixed so as to give more quantity than what it is in order to make money. Who did that? It is not King that or King this. It is not the poor man. It is those within the cartel of the oil industry that get that done. That is just a refreshment of our memory. Even then, President Muhammad Buhari, who was the charge, said, "Oh, head must rule. Maybe the heads will rule in the year 2057. As we progress, the heads will rule." But let's go back. So 34 years ago, this man was given that assignment and he went out of Nigeria. And Duke Oil was registered as offshore. And Duke Oil permanent address was put in London, not in Nigeria. But they now said that it has official office in Lagos, in Nigeria. And the office of Duke Oil, the offshore company, and we know what offshore company are meant for, was put as Radio House, Abuja. Radio House, Abuja. The relationship between the Radio House, Abuja, and the NNPC, one will find it difficult to discover. Or the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, one will find it difficult to discover. So, Nele Koloyari had been in the industry, working for the industry 34 years ago. About 30, let us say that, let's put it, say, about 31 years ago, even before he became the group managing director of the place. Because he graduated and he joined the NNPC in 1991. He joined the NNPC. But before he had gone to do this work. Now, you can now see that those controlling the oil in Nigeria is a very formidable cartel. I think it's the creator of Earth that will be older than that cartel. So, it is this cartel that is deciding everything. Now, it is this cartel now that moved the subsidy, most essentially from the 80s. And the subsidy keep growing. Please compare what we have arrived now as after removal of subsidy, what the price will be. Compare it to 2012, when Good Jonathan did his own, from 87 naira to 145 naira. And who are those that shut Good Jonathan down? They are all members of the APC. Again, the price is high. Know how you do any genuine attempt will be difficult to defeat because the cartel, they rule over us. They've taken us. They are Nigeria, but they've taken Nigeria. They've colonized Nigeria. Whatever way. The effect of it again. Let us refer to Koji well and see how the matter came. What Koji well
has to do with a very specific one in my country. The cleanup of the fuel subsidy regime in 2012 during my second stint as finance minister. Nigeria has a fiscally challenging fuel subsidy regime. The country exports crude oil and imports most of its refined needs because its refineries are in very bad shape, and provides a subsidy for the sales of refined oil at the pump. At the end of 2011, a total of 1.73 trillion naira, US $11 billion equivalent, was submitted as claims for subsidies by 143 marketers who were importing the product. These numbers seemed horrendously large compared to what I had last seen when I was in government in 2006, which was closer to $2 billion in subsidy. So we decided to audit these claims. We audited about $8.4 billion worth of claims, and we found $2.5 billion worth of fraud in these claims, i.e., many of these marketers were trying to claim $2.5 billion fraudulently. With the full backing of the president and the economic team, we decided that we were not going to entertain these claims or to pay. The pressure from the affected marketers was tremendous, as we tried not only to say we would not pay, but also we would clean up the whole mechanism for the subsidy claims and put in place something more transparent, something clearer. This did not go down well with them. When we stuck to our position of non-payment and implementation of the new verification regime, these strong and well-connected vested interests were angered and seemed to blame me personally for this. There were personal consequences. My 83-year-old mother, a retired professor of sociology, was kidnapped by 4 young men and held for 5 days. Keeping her wits about her as she was totally terrified, she asked them why she had been kidnapped. And they told her, quote, "Because your daughter, the finance minister, refused to pay oil marketers their dues." The kidnappers, negotiating with my brother, demanded my resignation publicly. I should go on television publicly and announce my resignation and depart from the country as a condition for my mother's release. Needless to say, these were some of the worst days of my life. Imagine, when you are in position, you want your parents, all of whom are here with you today, and your relatives, to be proud of you. You want to be a source of good for your family. You can imagine how I felt sitting there and thinking, just because of trying to do something right, to implement a good bit of policy that was good for the country, this could lead to the taking of my mother's life. These were some of the worst days of my life. With my father's support, the firm resolve of the president, we all decided I should not give in to the blackmailers, and I refused to resign. Following a manhunt, I'm sorry, I still feel emotional when I talk about it. And this story is not really publicly known, so this is probably the first time I'm giving the full details. Following a manhunt for my mother by police and security agencies, she was able to make a dramatic escape after 5 days in captivity, where she had only been given water and half of a sausage roll. So here was a well-justified cleanup and reform of a policy, but implemented in a dangerous reform environment where the losers in the reform, well-entrenched vested interests, decided to fight back to derail implementation. The decision not to resign was a very difficult and risky one. As it turned out, it worked. But there are days I ask myself, on my down days, what if it hadn't? What if they had gone ahead and murdered my mother, as she overheard them planning to do, with one of their handlers on the phone? Could I have justified trading off firmness on policy and standing up to blackmailers, implementing a good piece of public policy for my mother's life? What decision would you have made? Faculty, what decision would you have made? I know that one other brave hero, a woman I admire so much, a brave activist and reformer, Aung San Suu Kyi, was faced with an equally terrible decision. Leave Myanmar to be with her dying husband in England, I'm sure you all know the story, and never come back to finish the push for democracy in the country she loved, or stay and let her loved one, her husband, die without her by his side. She chose the fight for democracy, and I'm sure it's one of the most terrible and toughest decisions she ever had to make. Graduates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I believe I've made my point. In an imperfect world, good public policy has enemies and friends.